Welcome to another episode of the Streamer Thought Podcast, where thoughts flow and ideas stick. It's your host, Jasmine, and this is my first video podcast. Normally, it's just audio. So, one thing I want to say about that is my fiance, God bless him, he spent a whole day, well, a few hours yesterday setting up my official podcast equipment. Mind you, I ordered this from TikTok, but it had a lot of really good reviews. And so I was like, ooh, I'm going to get this and I'm going to do my podcast videos on this. Um, so clearly, I'm not recording this with the full setup because it didn't work. Um, but I was just thinking, like, it took him a couple hours for him to do that without any instructions, but it probably would have took me like a whole day just to figure out like one part of it. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for him. So, shout out to him. So yeah, a bunch of random topics today. One thing that I was just thinking about was me practicing my British accent. So, I know like, and I'm terrible at it, so that's just a disclaimer. But I do know like two words I feel like, oh, I might be okay with this. So, literally is one of the words, and then the other one is better. So I have to do the shoulder with better because I feel like it's necessary. It helps me to say the word better, and so then I also know another word, a random word that I think is a bad word or an insult. So I feel like I'm not going to say that word, but I do know it. And this all stemmed from like last year. I was watching a lot of Bridgerton and I was late to the game, of course, because everybody was like really on the Bridgerton like a few years ago and I had never watched it. But I got into it last year and I was like, oh, this show is kind of cool. But they just sound so sophisticated, the British people, and I just want to talk like that. And so, like I said, I'm terrible at it. Only a few words that are like, kind of okay. But then it got me to thinking about how the British actors, like Idris Elba and that new guy, what's his name? Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa, that guy that everybody is so obsessed with. They're so good with turning into or having an American accent and also switching back to their British accent. And it's like you would never know. Like I literally thought that Aaron Pierre guy was just an American guy from around the way because in like that movie Rebel Ridge, which was a pretty good movie, you cannot tell. And then I heard him in an interview and he was like, I'm from London. And I was like, what? So it just shows like how versatile they are and they're like chameleons. And I just think that, in my opinion, they're just a lot better than the American actors because what American do you know that can do that? I don't know any personally. And if there is one, I would love to know who they are, and I would probably be their biggest fan because you can literally go over there and talk like them. That's so cool. Um, and then that guy from another show, what is it? The Shy, which I also don't watch, but I know he's British too. And you would never know until you interview him or talk to him. So I think that is so cool. They sound so sophisticated, so posh is the word, I guess. Um, so on a serious note, though, something else that I was thinking of was a phrase that I've been hearing a lot lately. That every rejection is God's protection, and also what is for you will not pass you. So that's just like another word, another way of saying pretty much the same thing. Um, and I've been hearing a lot lately because I've been thinking about how a year and a half ago, I was applying for so many like federal jobs, like so many, and I wasn't getting any callbacks. I wasn't getting any interviews, and it started to make me feel like, I had a master's degree, and it was like, what am I doing this for? What was the purpose of this? Like nobody's hiring, or they're not hiring me. So it made me feel like I wasn't doing enough for the jobs, and I felt like at the time I felt like I really wanted those jobs, and at the time is the key part of that. So in the moment you're discouraged and you're wondering like, well, maybe I should just stop applying for jobs. Fast forward to now, um with the new administration, a lot of federal workers no longer have jobs. So I thought of that phrase, like every rejection is God's protection. I didn't get those jobs because I wasn't supposed to have those jobs. Because honestly, if I had got one of those jobs a year ago, I probably would be one of those people without a job now. And so it wasn't meant for me. Also, I feel like I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it for too long because the federal government is very structured, and I honestly feel like I no longer want to be in a job where it's like 9 to 5 and you have to do this by this certain time. You have this deadline. Like, it no longer interests me. I used to want to do that when I was younger. Like, being in the corporate world was so fun. Like, oh, I just want to wear, nice clothes and have meetings all day. And now that I've been in it for years, it's not appealing. It's not cool at all. I would love to have my own thing and not have to report to anyone. That's more of what I want to do. So yeah, it was definitely not meant for me. And if it was, then I wouldn't have been in that situation where I wasn't getting a job. So looking back on it, I understand it. Like I get it. It makes sense now. Um, Also, one other thing is that I've been seeing this a lot, and I actually wrote it down on my work computer. Um, that it's important to wait on God. And one day you will understand why God made you wait. And so I didn't, so patience is a really hard thing for me. It's something that I have struggled with for so long. I have absolutely no patience. I'm definitely that type of person that's just like, if it doesn't get done when I want it to get done, then I'll just do it. Like, I can't depend on nobody, no thing, nobody else's time. I'm just going to do it and then it is done. But you can't always do that. Sometimes you need to wait because you can't do it yourself. And so that's something that I've had to learn over time, and I think I'm doing better at it. It is a work in progress, like always, like everything. But I do think that it relates specifically to like me getting my PhD. So this is my last year of my PhD, which seems like a long year, but it will be 2026 before we know it. But I'm just like so anxious to see what's next. I'm so anxious to see what God has for me, and I know it's going to be like so much better than the situation I'm in now. Not that this situation sucks, but it's just that I will be able to use my degree and it'll make sense. And I'll look back on this year and be like, okay, I understand why I had to wait. And so yeah, I honestly am really excited about that. But I will say that I had a different attitude than what I do now, like a year ago. Not only with the jobs, but just with wondering, like, hey, is this all worth it? Like, what am I actually doing? And so I was discouraged, like I said, a year ago, wondering, like, is something gonna give? Like, when will the wait be over? And I also felt like I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like, what was I meant to do? Where was I meant to go? Um, and now I'm like at peace. It's a weird feeling, a good feeling, but a weird feeling because I know that I didn't feel like this before. And so me always continuously asking for guidance and for patience really paid off, because now I'm just like in a mode where it's like I know it'll happen when it's supposed to happen, and I know it'll be good. Actually, not good, great. And so I'm excited for when it comes. So, yeah, I do think it's really important to to be patient and learn patience. So this is definitely for the people who also don't have patience and or have a hard time like leaning on someone or something. So I found that I could lean on God. So maybe asking yourself, who can you lean on? Because sometimes you do need a little help, and sometimes you do need to just wait on God to figure it out for you, and it'll all make sense in the end. So yeah, those were some topics that were on my mind this week. Yeah, and I thank you all for listening, and the audio for this episode will be on any service that you get your podcast, but the video version will only be on YouTube. So, yeah, again, thanks for listening and see you guys next time. Bye.